What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. It's just going to be me and you, the Positivity Posse, here for the entire hour. And I promise you, I got some super hot fire content lined up for you guys. And thank you so much for being here, whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay. I know everybody watches live on Facebook and on YouTube, and you guys can comment. So make sure that you are commenting to be a part of this wonderful conversation. And for some reason, every time I do a solo show, you guys always show up and show out inside of the comments. So thank you so much for doing that week in and week out. But if you're listening on Spotify or any other place where you get your podcast from, then you can join us here. You just have to listen to it. But if you want to comment and be able to see our wonderful, beautiful, smiling faces with the Positivity Posse, you can tune in Thursdays at 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. PST if you're on that side of the country to get the super hot fire that we have planned for you today. And as you already know, we're going to be talking about three things. Number one, how to conquering negative self-talk. Number two, letting go. And number three, the community and why we need to have a great community support system. And it doesn't always have to physically be near us, right? It can be online, or there are safe communities like here where we have, we can just Dano TV, the Positivity Posse. You guys are awesome. So these three things are what I truly believe we need to talk about now more than ever. Because, you got so many things going on nowadays. Everybody is talking about, the Diddy parties and the election going on. It seems like it's a crazy, crazy time to live in right now. But if we change our direction just a little bit and we focus on the things that we need to focus on, we will see that it's not all so bad. So thank you so much for being here tonight on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. I already see Lou is lighting up in the comments. He already knows the deal and the drill. He dropped the hashtag Positivity Posse in the comments, and he says, "Let's go." Let's go is right. It's time for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. So let's get it, everybody. Make yourselves comfortable wherever you are, and let's get to the super, super hot fire with the great content known as Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Let's get it, everybody. Here we go, everybody. Let's get it started with this episode. And I'm super excited to be here week in and week out with you guys. So there's a few things that we need to talk about before we dive into everything. And you guys know we got to have our time. This time is going to be an entire hour with the Positivity Posse. But just to give you guys some updates of everything that's going on in my life, I have 2 books coming out potentially next month. I know one of them is for sure. And the other one is for sure, too. I just haven't decided which date it's going to be, and I'm super excited about these 2 books. As you have probably seen a few weeks ago, we had Misty Lee come on the show because she is an amazing author, editor, publisher, all in one, and she invited me to be in her anthology, and I believe it's called My Good Juju, which is a book all about positives, practices, and things that we need to do to achieve peace, whether it's conventional or unconventional. I have my chapter in there, and in that chapter, I'm super excited because we're going to be talking. Well, in that chapter, I have talked about what it takes for us to place value and how we determine everything that happens in our life, right? So, if something as serious as somebody being hospitalized for something, or something as trivial as getting into an argument on the basketball court, is one of the examples that I actually use in the book, and I think everything in between. Doesn't matter how serious or not serious it is. We put the power and we put the assigned value on what importance that has into our lives. And when you understand those tricks and how to properly use that technique in your life, I'm telling you, anything that gets thrown to your way would just be so easy stick it through. And I know there's some things out there, that may not be so easy, right? Like death in the family, or you're going through a breakup, or you just lost your job, or something serious like that. I understand that those things may seem like the end of the world, but when you have these practices in place in order to kind of limit the stress and to limit the bad times, so to speak. I don't even want to use that word. I don't like that terminology, but you get what I'm saying. When you have these strategies in place in order to limit that, it can get you so much further along the way and into that place of happiness and peace and love. And yes, it all sounds good, but in that book, like I said, I'll give you guys some practices and why it's important to really make sure we are assigning positive value to everything that's going on in our lives. So I'm excited for that. And then also the second book, this is a journal that I have created specifically for everybody out there that might be having some trouble with limiting beliefs, that they don't know what limiting beliefs are. If you're a beginner, or maybe if you're really deep into it, but you don't have a journal or you don't practice it every day, this is designed for that as well. I have created it to help everybody who is, like I said, maybe beginning or maybe an expert as well. And actually, I haven't done this yet, so this is the first time, but I want to share with you guys what that looks like. I actually have it up on the screen, and this is one of the pages that I have available to you guys. That, like I said, it's coming out next month, but here's like a little bit of a sneak peek of what you can expect. So I'm just going to show you this one page, and let me know if you guys. Oh, also, as we're going along through this episode, please let me know if you can hear everything great, because we're trying a new sound system out, which I just recently got, and I'm super excited. But I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me perfectly and that everything is, in order. Because right now I can't hear what's going on. I can talk to you guys, but I can't hear in real time what's going on. Number one, that would be distracting, and number two, I'm not sitting close enough to the computer to hear it. So here it is. This is what we can anticipate for next month. And yes, this is what it looks like. I designed everything myself. Everything that you see, I have written myself. I really put a lot into this. So let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys as well. Yeah, this looks a lot better. So, like I said, this is what you can expect. This is what the inside of one of the pages looks like. And for this limiting belief, let's say you're not reading the screen right now, but I'll read it to you. This limiting belief is number one. It says, I'm not ready to start. So at the top, you see it says why this is a false belief. So I'll just read you a quick sentence. It says, you have something, why I'm not ready to start is this limiting belief. And here it is. It says, you have something big and exciting that you want to do, but you don't feel ready to launch. You've probably seen others accomplish what you want, and you think that they had a handout, or they had some kind of advantage that you didn't have, or they're just lucky people. And if we go like deeper into that, we can make a whole episode on that. But yeah, so that's why, maybe one of the reasons that you're having that limiting belief. Here's the solution. Replace this false belief by understanding that progress is more important than perfection. Getting started is way more important than having everything perfect. And as you read further down along, even if you want to screenshot it, that's fine. So get that extra hype. But in that first page alone, I come up with a great analogy or a way to view it, and it's great. So obviously, I'm saying it's great, right? I'm biased to say that, but no, because I'm combining all of my expertise and my experience that I've learned throughout the years in business or in personal relationships that I've had in order to get over that limiting belief of you're not ready to start. So I'm excited for that. It looks good, and then here we have an affirmation that you see that we can do in order to combat it. And you guys know I love my affirmations so much. As we know the science behind it, or maybe if you don't know, right? If this is your first time here watching on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, but with the affirmations, we have to say them over and over into our heads because number one, we start to develop that belief system, whether it's true or not, right? In the beginning, you may have trouble with this new affirmation and identifying with it or believing it, but eventually, with enough time and enough reps, it's just like anything else. When you go to the gym, if you're having trouble with those 100-pound weights, over time you will get strong enough to lift those weights. It's the same thing with our mind and the affirmations. In the beginning, you may not even believe that the thing that you're reading is true, but if you give it enough reps and you give it enough time, you'll start to believe that positive affirmation that I've provided here with you guys. You see here at the bottom, this affirmation is, I'm ready to start, and I will make adjustments as needed. But once you take and you understand and believe in this affirmation, that is when the magic truly starts to happen. And yes, number one, you believe the affirmation, but number two, it goes into your subconscious mind. And as we all know with law of attraction, or maybe if you have another belief system, maybe you believe in science, right? Because this has been proven time and time again that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world and our subconscious. So I know Robert Kiyosaki talks about a big part of that in Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is such a great book. But if you don't like him or you don't like his theories, then there's so many other sources of science, books, people, places that you can look at that will help you understand the power of our subconscious mind. And that is why I wanted to throw that affirmation in there as well. And yeah, like I said, it is a journal, so we have some other pages on there in order to talk about, what we can do to write down, and to give you guys an all-in-one kind of a one-stop shop and what it takes in order to reprogram our minds and overcome limiting beliefs. So, like I said, I'm going to stop sharing the screen with you, but that should be coming out sometime next month. I kind of Amazon with their reformatting, because the way that I originally did it didn't match their specs. Now I got to go in and kind of change the format of well, not format, but the sizing of everything, and that's been like a journey just trying to navigate that. But Misty Lee, thank you so much. I know you're watching this right now, so thank you so much for your positive guidance and helping me get through that. Lou says right here, I can't wait for this. Yes, I'm super excited to release that as well. I already had a few people ask me when is it going to release. So thank you so much for your support. And yeah, I'm excited for this to come out too. Thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear me perfectly. That just means that this microphone is working, and I'm so happy for that as well. Nice looking shirt, looking spiffy. Well, I gotta, I'm always transparent with you guys, so I'll let you know where I got it from. This is actually Banana Republic. So I like to shop there. I think they have some quality stuff, and my style is changing a little bit. One of the things that I've been working on myself, because I noticed before I would just kind of wear like basketball shorts and stuff that I would be comfy and relaxed in, but depending on who you ask, which would be, most people that are informed, you can make the case that that is a reflection of how you view yourself, right? Which I know that I'm a confident, laid back person, but there are other ways to express that where you can show it to other people as well, not only to yourself. And unfortunately, as much as we know inside of this world, people do judge on appearances and on looks. And in order to put your best self forward, we have to make sure, or put our best foot forward, I should say, rather. We should make sure that we're doing everything that we can to have people perceive us in a positive light, right? Because it's just the way that it is. And I know I do it from time to time. If you have a person that's dressed in a suit versus somebody that has holes in their clothes, or they may be dirty, or it's just, I'm not saying that we have to go that route, but we've all done it before where we'll look at those two people and we'll come to a conclusion. Whether that conclusion is right or wrong, we still end up judging that person no matter what's happening, or no matter how positive and how great we can be. It's just a part of human instinct, right? Because I know I've done it before. And like I said, that initial judgment, you may be right or you may not be right. But if you can avoid that and kind of make that path of easygoingness, and kind of go on that path of representing yourself in the best light possible, then that's going to get you to a lot of places that you want to be, right? It's going to open a lot more doors for you just by the way that you look. So take a little bit of pride in it. I know I've been working on that myself. So thank you for giving me that compliment. But that's why I've been doing it. So, and you can check over actually like the last few episodes on Weekly Dose of Dano. I've noticed that the wardrobe has been going up a little bit as well. So maybe that's conscious change or unconscious change. Everything is starting to go up as well. And speaking of that too, we are having some improvements that's going to come out a little bit from now, which I know the season 4 has been great, granted, wonderful, but I do think it's time to switch it up with the new show opener, with maybe a new flow and how we do things. I know we did the set recently, so that's probably going to stay the same. But the transitions that we do here, maybe the caliber, because everything's going to go up on the show, because I know that it is starting to kind of get to me too, that things have been the same for a little bit, but been so busy doing other things. But that is no excuse. We are working on that for you guys as well. It's going to take a little bit to implement those. So stay with us and be happy, because that is coming for everybody as well, whether we like it or not. change is inevitable. So yeah, well, I'm at season 4. Season 5 is coming up soon, but I meant for season 4. I know that some of the things has been kind of the same, which is not necessarily a bad thing because the things that we've done are at a high quality. But I just want things to get a little bit step it up a little bit for everybody involved, for me, for the guests, for the positivity posse, for the listeners, everybody as well. So yeah, season 5 should be coming out sometime soon. I don't have a exact time for that just yet because, like I said, we're releasing the books and have other few projects going on in the works as well. But yeah, so there it is. Everybody, let me know what's been going on in your lives as well. If things have been going great, not so great, whatever definition that you want to put on it, please let me know, and I will show the comments here with you guys so I can respond to them as well, and maybe give you my insights or just talk about it as well. Because I know sometimes not everybody has that community where they have people that can listen to things that are going on in your life, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about everything that we're going to be talking about today, which in what I just said about not having that community is number 3, developing that community and what we can do to make sure that we are on point and we're attracting our tribe, right? Because we don't know everything. And when it comes to learning that next step, we can avoid going through the same pitfalls as somebody else. But if we don't have those people in our community to kind of guide us in the right light and to really make sure we're on the right path, it's going to be so much harder. Not to say it's not doable, but it's going to be so much harder to achieve anything it is that you want. Because if you have strategically have people in your corner in your community to get you to that place that you want to be, and they've already done it, that's just like a fast track to success. And one of the hacks that I think is super, super important in developing that positive lifestyle and that successful lifestyle as well. So right now we're gonna hear. Let me just hear from Lou. Lou says staying busy and growing constantly, 100%. That is so important. And I know busy can seem a little overwhelming to some people, but I always say that busy is better than not being busy and being bored, right? Because when you're busy, like you said, you're growing constantly. You're learning new things about yourself. You're learning new things about the world. And with all of that, confidence and that wisdom that you do achieve, we can share that to the rest of the world and help the world become that much more better. So I'm happy to hear that you're staying busy. I know that you're staying busy in the gym as well, and everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Lou. We really appreciate you here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. But let's hear a word from our sponsors first, and then we're going to dive into the meat and the potatoes of the actual show. And like I said, we're going to be talking about these 3 things about conquering our negative self-talk, letting go, and building a great community as well. So don't go anywhere. I hope you got your gears turning right now. I hope you feel this energy. You know what? Let me not even say hope. I know you're feeling this energy right now. So let's keep it up and get your gears going because I want to hear all about your thoughts on the 3 topics that we're going to be talking about. But for right now, we're going to hear a word from the power of choices. And when we come back, we're going to dive into this great, great content. So let's get to it.
What we do is very interactive, but very, very powerful because, look, yeah, I was an educator for 30 years. I don't believe in just academic education. The lack of character education, which is what we do, changes a culture, and it doesn't take 3 months or 3 years to do it.
We are the guys that come in that will teach these kids everything that they need in order to really be the best version of themselves and to get the skills to succeed in life, no matter what life throws at them. Is everybody the power of choices? Thank you so much for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And yes, that is me, Mark. We have some great things coming up in the works, so keep your eyes peeled for that on our social media sites because we got some things cooking up for you guys. that you're really going to enjoy as well. So let's get right to it. Let's start it off with number one, conquering negative self-talk. This is so important for so many reasons, but it's kind of hard to be aware of the negative self-talk because we do it so constantly and we may not know that we're doing it at that moment in time. Because I meditate and I'm a big advocate for meditation, one of the benefits that I've received is being able to really catch myself in the act of when I'm performing this negative self-talk. And for somebody like me that is so conscious and is really on point with personal development and thinking in the positive light, I even surprise myself with how many negative thoughts come about in a day, right? And negative doesn't have to be something super serious, but it's not always a constructive thing, right? I mean, you can have it so serious where you're like, all right, if something were to go down right now and you're in a public setting, what would I do? Where would I go? And a lot of people think of that way as a preventative measure, but they're always, thinking about it in the sense of like, oh, well, I know I would become Superman and I would save everybody in X, Y, Z. So it's kind of funny when these thoughts do come up. And I know a perfect example of this is if you guys have ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they actually have an episode where they're all day. Well, they get the robber comes into the store and they're like in a convenience store, and the guy goes in and he's like, "All right, this is a stick up. Everybody get down," and he's robbing the place. And in their minds, they think about all the heroic things that they're gonna do. But it's just funny because that show is a perfect analogy of conquering negative self talk, because in that sense they use it and they conquer that negative self-talk with funny, positive stories that would happen if they were in that situation or once they are in that situation. But it's so important because you need to recognize what it is that you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis. And I know pre-meditation, I wasn't doing it, right? I was the type of person, I was just kind of going through life, going through the motions. It's like, all right, well, I'll just go with the flow and whatever happens, happens. But when you are aware of the change that you need to make, that's when you can take the conscious steps to make that change. So, like I said, negative self talk is so important. And I have a few things listed here on what I believe is important to overcome that negative self talk. Whatever questions or comments that you guys have or ideas, please be sure to share it. This is not a passive experience. As we know, we're here rocking and doing this together. So number one, recognize the self-talk patterns. I know so many different people do this in different aspects of their lives, but for me, it's sports. I know if I'm on the basketball court, right, or I'm in the gym and I'm having a bad day shooting, right, I'm like, one for five from the 3 point line. That negative self-talk really starts to take over, and I'm like, I'll scream out some curse words, or I'll get on a tilt. And I know that example may be something that not a lot of people, or maybe a lot of people can, resonate with. But take that idea and really think about the things that whatever you're doing, that you start to notice, your moods start to change, because that's really the biggest indicator of the self-talk patterns. That if they're not, contributing to our happiness, then it's going to take away from it. So like I said, for me, if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm having a bad game, that's when I'm able to recognize the self-talk pattern on the basketball court, and I can start to change it. Right? I can think of that. One of the things that I do is number one, kind of have to have that Kobe mentality, right? Where if you're gonna, you got to keep shooting out of that bad, streak of shots or whatever you're going through in order to get back on track. And number two, I know for me specifically on the basketball court, if I can contribute in other ways, right? I can provide great defense. I can, be dropping dimes on the court and provide a lot of assists. I can get rebounds. There's so many other ways to be creative and to contribute to, like I said, for me on the basketball court, but for you, it can be something completely different. Try to think of creative ways of turning that negative self-talk into positive self-talk. But like I said, you got to recognize when these things are starting to take place in order to change them. Because if not, you'll just go through your day just being grumpy. And I'm pretty sure we've all experienced that time where we're grumpy throughout the day. And we're like, man, I don't even know why I'm so mad. Like, what's bothering me? Like, I totally forgot. But that feeling of negativity and anger and sadness is still along with you as well. And it's because we need to become more self-aware of the patterns that we are going through in our everyday life. So, yeah, in order to conquer negative self talk, that's one of the biggest things. Please recognize what it is that we're thinking about and what we're talking to ourselves about on a day to day basis. And remember, even if it's negative self talk, it doesn't necessarily have to be said out loud. It can be the thoughts that are going on inside of your head as well. So, another way in order to overcome our negative self talk and to conquer the self talk is to have self compassion. When we are aware of these negative self talks or these negative patterns that we're going through, we cannot beat ourselves up because that's only adding fire to the flame. And when we beat ourselves up and when we don't have self compassion for ourselves, think about what it is that you're doing. You're just repeating that same negative pattern, but you're doing it into a different light, right? Instead of having that negative self talk pattern, now you're taking that same energy and that same strategy, and now you're beating yourself up for it. So that is just the same thing, but just in a different way. And I know that might sound a little bit nuanced, and it may be something that, you know, that'll be a little bit hard to do. But please, whenever you are recognizing yourself going down a bad path, you're not doing the things that you need to do. Whether like if you're starting a business and you know that you need to put out social media content, or you're not doing the things that you need to do. Please take it with a self compassion, and then that's when you're able to take that and start a new path and to go on a different direction as well. Because if you beat yourself up, then you're only contributing more to that place of negativity, and you're going in that downward spiral. So treat yourself with self compassion, and we're human. We all make mistakes, and things are going to happen along the way that we can't see. So when we practice that attitude, we practice that idea and that strategy of self compassion, that is what is going to take us to that next level, because we can pivot right then and there, change our emotions, be aware of it, and then set ourselves on the right track as well. Lou says right here, he says golden nuggets in capital letters. I'm so happy that you guys are getting so much value from this, because that's what we do here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Week in and week out, we provide that value. So thank you. I'm so happy that you're getting the golden nuggets as well. But let's stay right on track, because I know that if I start to not focus on what we need to focus on, then I'll start to go off on a little bit of a tangent. But that's all right, right? Because we all do it. But I just love that communication between me and you guys. So keep it up. The next thing that we need to do in order to conquer our negative self-talk is to reframe the negative thoughts that we are experiencing at that time. So a big one that used to be for me was self-confidence, right? Because I know I had people back in the day, if I had a little bit, because I always had a little bit more energy than everybody else, whatever that was attributed to. A lot of people would say, yo, you need to calm down, or, take it down a notch, or XYZ. And then I would actually believe these other people's, ideas about me. And then I would actually start to develop and then adopt those. And I would believe that about myself. But then with those negative with those negative ideologies that other people had, and when I believed it, that is when I started to have these negative self-thoughts about myself, about my image, about my energy levels, or whatever it is. And when I decided to take these negative self-thoughts, with these negative thoughts, and then reframe them, that's when the magic started to happen. So let's take that example, like I said, of other people saying, yo, you got too much energy, you need to relax, you need to do this. Well, why is it that having a lot of energy is a bad thing, right? Because you don't have it, or because you don't like the light that we're shining, or if it had nothing to do with me. And that's why when we reframe these negative self-thoughts, we are able to use it in a much more positive light. So that thing that a lot of people may be condemning you for or shaming you for might be the thing that actually gets you in that positive step. And that is the thing that makes you unique. And that is your special light in this world. So don't ever let anybody really talk down to you, because that might be the thing that makes you special and will make you who you are, right? I know a lot of musicians in that specific sense as well. There was a funny thing. I think it was The Box by Roddy Ricch. I don't know if you guys ever seen on how he kind of came up with that song, but he started in the beginning going, you know, that funny thing. And in the beginning, he was saying that his friends were looking at him kind of funny, and they were like, "Oh, all right, well, you know, if you want to take it out," or I don't think they were like really going for it in the beginning. And now, as we all know, that song is super, super popular. It was super, super popular. It was only a few years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, that the song was really popular. Everybody was listening to it. But he took that idea of, you know, somebody saying something that wasn't so constructive, but him betting on himself and following his ideas and his hunches, and he was able to take that negative, you know, idea and use it in a positive light. Jeanette says right here, self-compassion, be nice to yourself. And he also says one can never have too much energy. You will either attract or repel. And exactly, right? When we think about energy and having all of it and being chock full of it, this is what you do. You can take that to say, okay, all of this positive energy that I do have, number one, I can use it to fuel my dreams. And number two, you can use that positive energy to attract your tribe, which kind of goes into the third thing that we're going to be talking about later on in the show, about building that positive community. But there's so many different things that a lot of people can view in a negative light. But if you spin it and put it in a positive spin, it'll get you closer to that life of success. It'll get you closer to that life of peace that you so are desiring to live. And it is a positive, constructive thing. Now, one little caveat to that is that just make sure that it is a positive thing and it's not something that's self destructive, right? Because we can take that and say, oh, well, you know, this alcohol or this weed or this substance is kind of fueling my creativity. So I'm going to keep on doing it because, you know, I'm going to spin that in the positive light. Well, you know, that might not be so positive and so efficient to your overall well being because there's a lot of side effect that goes with both of those things and both of those substances. So just make sure that you are looking at it kind of from an objective perspective of is it really truly serving me or is this kind of hindering me from getting to the place that I want to get to? So, like Jeanette said, thank you so much for dropping that because that's another way that you can reframe that negative thought into a positive. Here's another one here's the next piece that we need to talk about. In order to conquer that negative self talk, we need to interrupt the negative thought cycle. And if we don't take that idea of negativity and the negative self talk to stop it right in this tracks to not go further, then you're just going to go in a spiral and spiral and spiral. And that energy that's going to be around those thoughts is going to be greater and greater and greater. And it's going to be like a snowball effect because obviously, if you were to stop the snowball at the top of the mountain, it's going to be just a small dot and it won't be as big as if, you know, it goes down and it gains that traction at the bottom of the mountain. You already know it's going to be something that's insurmountable, or so you think is insurmountable, but it's going to be a lot harder to break down. So this can be kind of converted and used intertwined with positive self-talk, right? Because I know that when we're on that, you know, in our flow, when we think about one positive thing or we laugh about something, then that can snowball into the positive effect as well. So here it is. A big way in order to do this is I have a little silly drawing, which might be a little trivial, but it really makes sense when you think about it. So if we have something right here that's like, you see this, right? Just a simple circle. When we think about it, we're just going to think about it in the sense of, oh, it's going to be, you know, going forever and ever. And you're just in that one spot. Let me hide this banner so I can explain to you guys. So you probably are just thinking if you're not interrupting that pattern, you're just, you know, going over it and over and over and over it. And it's just going to be never ending cycle. But if we look at it and we interrupt that, you know, that circle and that negative cycle, and we actually reframe it to a positive, we can turn it into an upward spiral, which I'm going to show it just a little bit closer, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about right here. So if we kind of take this and we put it in a positive sense, here we are before we're thinking that we're just going through the same things over and over. But really, when we reframe it, we can see that if we were to look at this from, you know, from its side or from the, you know, side view angle, we're just going up and up and up. So even though we started right here, we're really going ourselves up to the top and we are working in a way that's actually contributing to our happiness versus, you know, something else of it being a negative self-talk. negative ideology as well. So just make sure that's really one of the reasons why. I know it may be a simple example, but it's so true in everything that we do. So make sure that you are doing everything that you can do to reframe it and to stop that negative cycle and put it to the positive as well. So right now we're going to hear a word from our second sponsor because we have to go through the second, talking points for today and the third one, which as we all know, we just got through the first one as well, which is conquering negative self-talk. But the second, we're going to be talking about letting go. And number three, we're going to be talking about what it takes to build a positive community. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our second sponsor. It takes a village housing, and we'll be right back with some more Weekly Dose of Dano TV.
Actionable is about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
Big shout out to It Takes a Village Housing. Thank you so much for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And if you are in the Camden area or surrounding areas as well, I want to show this because they're having a diaper drive, and this is going to be absolutely amazing. I went to the last one. I was actually the MC for the last one, and it was such a great time. When you see what they're doing in the city of Camden to give back to the to the mothers and to the children, it's such a great event. So I'm inviting you to go as well if you're watching live or in the in the Camden area or not. Even if you just want to come out to have a great time and you don't really need diapers, just come out, have a great time, and see what services they are offering, or just to come to collaborate in a great community as well. If you can't see it, it's right here. It's on October 12th. That this is going to be happening from 11 to 2 at the North Camden Community Center. And there's going to be a lot of great sponsors and partners there as well. Citizens Bank, you have ReWorld, shout out to Todd from ReWorld, Cam Care, Columbia Bank, Presentech, and all these other great places that have all come together to help the citizens of Camden as well. So it's going to be a great time. So if you're there, again, come out on October 12th, 11 to 2. All right, let me just stop sharing this. And now let's get back to the great content that Shane, so lovely to see you, man. I've been seeing what you're doing on the 3 Beards of Wrestling. So keep going strong, man. I've seen that your guests have improved and everything is going great with you as well. So love to hear it. Thank you so much for being here and keep going strong, man. We got a lot of lives to change, man. So let's keep it going. So I actually need a sip of water. I forgot to do it while I was taking the commercial break, but we got to keep it going. So we're going to be talking about right now letting go. So letting go is a skill and an art that I don't think many people have mastered. For one reason or another, when we are going and reliving these moments of pain, happiness, and things that have gone in the past, we're not able to look to the future. And we're not to the future because there is no future, right? We have to live in the present moment. And when we're so focused on everything that happened in the past, and it could be good things and bad things, right? It can be something that happened in the past where you experienced a bad breakup, or you weren't living true to yourself, or you had an embarrassing moment, or even something that happened in the past that was positive, right? Where you see it all the time. But people that are super successful, they're like, man, back in 1987, I was XYZ. I was the best person when it came to marketing, or I had so much fun back then. I was at the clubs and I was pulling all the women. I was like, all right, well, what are you doing now? That is leading you to that place and that is getting you excited that you had back in the past. So when we don't let go of all the things, good and bad, that happened in the past, we're not able to focus on the now, which is leading us through greater future. So it's hard. It's hard because I know with that emotion and with those feelings, we actually feel something, right? And a lot of people just kind of want to feel things nowadays because I feel like they're just having such a hard time with everything that's going on in the world or in their life that they have just kind of numbed themselves. And when they think about those great things that happened in the past, they start to feel that passion that they used to have, or they start to feel that excitement. And even with the negative things, they feel that sadness. But whatever it is, they're actually feeling something. So they'll take that over just going through the growth pains or the growth happiness, whatever you want to call growing. They rather feel that than to feel what's going on right now. And it's such a bad way to live and the way to think. So let's talk about some things that we can do in order to change that. Chris, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. I see your comment. It's so great to see you as well. Love it when you're on and to share all of your wisdom and your insights as well. So when it comes to letting go, here are some of the things that we need to do in order to let go. Number one, we have to realize that it hurts, right? Most of the time, and let me know if I'm wrong, but most of the time when people reflect on the past, it's all about the things that aren't really serving them and things that have kind of hindered them and put them in the past, right? Even if it's something as silly as, remembering about something that you did in fourth grade that nobody ever remembers, right? You might have slipped and fell, or you might have, I don't know, thrown up in front of everybody. Because I still do remember that I actually did that and somebody else did that. And it's funny, but it's one of the things that people have done. Whatever it is, when you're holding on to those emotions, you're reliving that past pain or that sorrow. So why are you putting yourself through that thing a second time? It's not serving you. If you are going to go back to revisit it, think about the lesson and think about what that thing provided you to be where you are today. Because I guarantee you, that thing that you had to go through that might have been super painful, that you think that you couldn't have ever gotten through, that is what, number one, made you stronger. And two, that has gotten you to where you are today. So you should honor it and be happy that that thing has happened. So, holding on hurts. So make sure that you are letting go. And there's a great illustration that I saw online before, and it was basically somebody holding it was like a barbed wire, and the more that they were holding on to that, the more it was making them bleed and actually cut their hands. And it was actually when they decided to let go, then that's when they found that relief. So just make sure that you are doing that. If I can find that in the next commercial break, I'll share it with you guys. This is a great visual of what it means to let go in a positive sense. So in order to let go as well, we have to let go of mistakes, right? And we have to realize that mistakes are a part of the journey and are the process. When we understand that mistakes are a big part of letting go and letting go of those mistakes, that's freeing up our mental capacity, our spiritual capacity, and our physical capacity to make space for the things that need to be into our lives, right? And to leave space to attract that tribe, to attract that job opportunity that want. If you want another, significant other, if you want a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is that you want, when you release those things and understand that those mistakes that we've done, number one, made us stronger, but two, if it's taking up that much space, it's not giving room for the people that need to be there in our lives, or not necessarily people, but it can be opportunities as well. So make sure that we have to understand that mistakes are part of the journey as well. Christopher says they can also suffer because they resist how things are instead of finding acceptance. Then one can finally focus on what to do next. And if you do find that, you just dropped a great word. See, that's why I'm so happy, Chris, when you come on constantly, because you just dropped that one single word, which is right here, acceptance. When you are able to, make peace and to make terms of what's going on into your life, instead of running from it, instead of hiding from it, that's when you're able to make that conscious change to go forward. But you have to accept it, right? And acceptance doesn't always necessarily mean that it has to be lovey-dovey or it doesn't have to be some warm feelings with it. Like if somebody did you wrong and they did you dirty, but you accept it, then you're able to see that person for who they truly are, or you're able to take those lessons and to go forward with it. And acceptance doesn't always necessarily mean getting a positive, result from it, because there's things out there that sometimes you haven't found the positive result as to why that's happened, right? If somebody snaked you or did you dirty, or we see it time and time again out there that somebody, there's murders out there that, if you are that victim of that family, like acceptance doesn't have to agree or, finding compassion with the action that that person did. You just have to accept that that is the way that it is, and there's nothing that we can do to change it. And I know that might be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. And acceptance comes with what's going on in our lives right now, right? If you found yourself in a place that you're not where you want to be, number one, that's fine, because you can now be conscious of it to make that change, to go to and take the steps to be at the place that you do want to be. But you have to accept and just come to terms with what happened, with what's happening. And yeah, thank you so much for dropping that word. It's a big word in order to let go, right? Christopher is the sage as well. I love that because he is truth, man. And I know Christopher I believe he shares his thoughts on social media. So make sure you go to follow him. Chris, I want people to follow you to hear about all of your great insights as well. So if you could drop your social media handles in the chat, that would be great so we can share it with everybody. So yeah. Oh, and actually that was the next one that I have written down on there was acceptance. So after mistakes, it was acceptance. And then finally, in order to let go, we have to release the resentment towards others. And I know I had a problem with this because I didn't even know I was doing this. There was one person in particular that was in my life that was always talking down towards me and just kind of berating me. And they would mask it from a place of love. But over time, of just constantly not saying something to that person, to stick up for myself, to say, yo, you gotta stop talking to me like that, or I don't appreciate how you're talking to me. I wouldn't do that at the time. So over time, I would develop that form of resentment. And I didn't even know what I was doing. Like somebody would tell me, like, yo, like, are you sure you're not building resentment towards this person? And I'll be like, nah, that's not me. Like, I'm happy now. I'm still talking to this person and we're on good terms, but it was only eating me alive on the inside. So resentment is, not really speaking your mind and not finding that voice to step up for yourself. And you may want to say something to that person. And if you're just constantly thinking that everything is sweet and that that's just the way that they are, but you have these other feelings going on the inside of you that you're not releasing in a positive light, whether that's journaling, whether that's saying those things out loud in order to release it, whether it's so many different things, just be careful that we're not developing that resentment towards anybody else. And resentment can be in so many different forms. That's something for another episode, but just make sure that we are releasing that as well. So we're going to hear a word from our final sponsor, which is Great Success. And after that, we're going to talk about the third way that, or the third topic that we're going to be talking about in order to live that life of peace and happiness is developing that great sense of community. So like I said, the things that we talked about before was the first thing we talked about was conquering the negative self-talk. Number 2 is letting go, which we just covered. And number 3, we're going to talk about what it takes to develop a great positive community as well. So here's a word from Great Success, and we'll be right back with the final portion of Weekly Dose of Dano TV after a word from our sponsor.
At Grade Success, it's our job to make sure that your child succeeds in school regardless of the subject or grade level. Our tutors are trained professionals who know how to promote learning and encourage results. Whether you are looking for help with SAT, ACT prep, private and group tutoring, K-3 reading programs for your child, or educational consulting and college counseling, here at Grade Success, we can help you find the right answer. Visit gradesuccess.com to learn more about our in-person and online program options. Grade Success, where your child's success is our business.
Thank you guys for sticking with me for the entire episode. As you always do, we appreciate you so much. this has been something that has been weighing on my mind, and that's why I wanted to talk about these two things for today. Like I said, number one was conquering the negative self-talk. Number two was learning how to let go and what we need to do to let go. And now for the final section, we're going to be talking about community. Just the positivity posse alone. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not continue to come on here week in and week out to provide this great content for you guys, right? And when we have those community members that are just constantly showing up for you and you're surrounding yourself with great positive people that really want to see the best for you and truly, truly want to see the best for you, because not everybody's like that, right? Because there's people out there that are jealous and they don't want to see you succeed, but we don't focus on them. When we are focusing on our community members and being around and attracting our tribe to really go to that next level, that's when the magic starts to happen. I know for me, for a business sense, back in the day, I had no business acumen, or I didn't know what business really was, right? I always just thought that, you would just file a few papers, or, you would just answer some emails, and, you would just make transactions and sales, and that was really it. As I'm going through it from being an entrepreneur on Weekly Dose of Dano TV and other, adventures that I do have, other ventures that I do have, I've learned there's so many different components and aspects to it. But I would not have learned how to navigate through these barriers or these roadblocks if it wasn't for surrounding myself with people that have actually become successful in the business world, right? So when it comes to building our community, make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that have actually achieved or is at a closer space or in a closer spot than where you are right now. And it doesn't always have to necessarily be the person that is driving those Lamborghinis or has the mansions or is doing $3 million in business every single year. It can be somebody that's further along in their journey than you are, right? And number one, you're gonna save yourself so much time and suffering by listening to somebody that has done it a little bit further than you and is doing it at a little bit higher scale than you. And you kind of have to be humble when you're going to this person and listen to what they have to say. But when we have this community that is here for us to kind of guide us to be our best selves, that is something that is worth its weight in gold. And you really can't put a value on that as well, because they're saving you time, because you're going to go through these things and these pitfalls eventually. But when you arming yourself with the wisdom in order to navigate it seamlessly and quickly, you're saving yourself that much more of a headache along the way. So when it comes to your community, make sure you are attracting your tribe. A hard pill to swallow is that if you are surrounding yourselves with people that are not in the same wavelength as you have to realize that you attracted that, but you don't have to necessarily condemn them or condemn yourself for that. You can go and navigate different, places and talk to different people as well. Your high school friends don't have to be your friends for your entire life. I know some people have that issue, but when we attract our tribe and we actually are taking the steps to live that life of peace, to live that life of fulfillment, to live that life of happiness, that's when these pieces and these people come into your life that'll help you get to wherever it is that you want to go. And I know you may not see that right now because you are maybe just starting out, or you've been burned so many times that you kind of have a hard time trusting people. But believe me, all of those people, even if you are in that headspace of you've been burned before, you don't want to get burned again, or you just, you kind of see the negative in people, that's when we can change our trajectory of our thinking. And then that's when we can attract the tribe that needs to be in our lives as well. Thank you, Lou's loving it. He says, great show as always, Dano. Thank you. I appreciate you being here and lighting it up in the comments as you always do. So number one, in order to build that great community, we need to have meaningful relationships. I used to be and surround myself with people and friends that they were just kind of like my party friends, right? Like I would just go out with them, have fun on the weekend. We would go out, drink, go to the bars, but there wasn't any substance behind the relationships that I was having with them. And it was when I really started to examine where I was hanging out with this select group of friends, then that's when I can change it, right? And that's when I knew that the things that we were talking about and the things that we were doing were just on the surface level. So that's all I would get from that relationship. And yeah, it was fun at the time, but eventually we grow, man, and we want more from life than what we're going through. Or if we're stuck in that cycle, then we're just kind of, we outgrow that. And that's not a bad thing. And you don't have, like I said, you don't have to put down the other person to say, oh, well, you're not doing anything, you're not doing XYZ. Just be mindful of it and just make sure you are developing meaningful relationships. And that can be something as, meaningful as somebody providing you, funds and income for your business. That can be somebody that's providing you wisdom and insights, like here, how we do on Weekly Dose of Dano, providing a meaningful relationship to help you build your mind, to help you build your physical side, your spiritual side, all of that stuff. Make sure that these relationships have some substance to them and they're not just on the surface level. Finally, to wrap everything up, because we are at the end of the show, is right here to build a great community. We need to build a support system. Have those people in place that when things start to go awry or they're not going the way that you prefer them to, we have these people to talk us up, to get us back on the right track. And I know with my support system, I have a bunch of people. I don't even know if it's a bunch of people, honestly. It's a select few people that I can probably count on my hands that if I just go to them, they can get me on my right track. So it doesn't always have to be an abundance or a plethora of people. Just if you have that select few people that you have them in place in order to help you get back on the right track, that support system is going to take you so far in life. For the days that you don't want to do the thing that you need to do, when you have that support system, when we do experience those days, and I promise you, it's probably a lot more than we would like to admit or like to realize. But when we have that support system, it'll get us through anything that is kind of holding us back in our lives. So, to the people that are in my support system specifically, thank you so much. Which is the Positivity Posse. Lou, that's been commenting. Jeanette on there. I know Mark has been a great support system. Rye, my guy Rye. So many people that I can't think of right off the bat right now. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for you guys just constantly pushing me in the right direction. And one more thing about the support system as well is if you're going out there and you're kind of just trying to use everybody to make yourself feel better, then that's not coming from a place of love, of peace and happiness. So don't be surprised if that bites you in the butt. If you're trying to use everybody to kind of make yourself feel better, that's not a good way to do it. So thank you guys so much for being here. Jeanette says, great show as always. Thank you for the golden nuggets, and we love you. Thank you for showing the love week in and week out. I love you guys so much as well. Two things. Number one, next week we are going to, for the first time ever, we're going to do an in-person recorded episode at the Salvation Army, the Kroc Center. So I'm excited to do that with you. So next week is going to be a pre-recorded episode, but I will be on the call, or I will be on the episode to answer any questions that you guys might have. We have Major Sanchez of the Salvation Army coming on to talk about what the Kroc Center is and a great event that they have coming up in October. I believe it's October 5th. It's called Kroc Fest. I'll keep you guys updated with that, and it's going to be a great time. So come next week, and it's going to be a new experience for us all. So let me know what you think about and how it all turns out. And then number two, let's just talk about really quickly a quick wrap up of what we talked about. In order to really achieve this life of peace and happiness, make sure that we're conquering our negative self-talk. We are letting go of things that aren't serving us. And number three, we are consciously building and attracting a community of people that are there for us, that truly wants to see us grow and prosper. So thank you so much to my Positivity Posse. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. I love you guys. Stay safe. And I'll see you next week. Make sure that you are not just listening to this and saying, yeah, that was some good advice. Make sure that we are practicing it along the week and throughout the week as well. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Thank you so much, everybody. Love you. Peace.